Welcome to Mixed Media Creations with me, Creative Katie, Karen Burchill. Follow me on Instagram, www.instagram.com/CreativeKatie. Don't forget to subscribe and share my Instagram and my YouTube channel with your creative friends. Today we have an ICAD video for you. Actually, it's a trio of ICADs. And all three are being made on a background using the technique that I taught in Mixed Media Technique Tag number 7, smooshing. Links to any specialized products can be found in the description box below. So what you're looking at here are the 3 tags that I created during the Mixed Media Technique Tag video. And it's number 7. If you want to go, and I'll put a link to that video. And I used various mediums. I used distressed ink, I used Starburst sprays, I used my Inktense blocks, I used metallic paints on a black background, and I used acrylic paints as well. And to get the ins and outs about which one works and how to make it work, please watch that video. I think I should have watched the video as a refresher. Smooshing isn't something that I do a lot of. I like the effect, especially when you get some of that white space. So right off the bat, I kind of make this difficult for myself because I decide that I'm going to do 2 cards using this technique, just in case. Now, one of the cards you can see is the flash card, and even though it has a layer of gesso, you can still see the numbers. But because I'm smooshing and my goal is to ensure that I get some white space, I don't want to see those numbers there. So I'm giving a couple coats of extra gesso. This other card is a card that I cut out to the same size and shape as my flash card, and I believe it's on mixed media paper, and I'm giving it a coat of gesso as well, just to handle the materials better. So I've decided to use my acrylic paints. So I have my Martha Stewart metallic paint, deep violet, and light blue permanent, and I've just put a daub of that on these yogurt lids, and I've mixed them with water to thin out. So here I'm dabbing it, and I'm just kind of pressing the card into it. Now, I realized that I can still kind of see those numbers there, so I grabbed my script stamp and my archival in cobalt blue, and I'm putting the script behind, just to distract from if you see any of the numbers coming out. So here I'm dabbing it right onto my craft mat, and because I've used 3 colors that are close to each other on the color wheel, I know that when they mix, even if they're wet, they're not going to make mud. If I was using a color that was across the color wheel, I would ensure that I dried in between smooshing the different colors. Now, learning curve here, and here's where I should have watched my own video and relearned how to do this. I'm getting kind of blobs, and while I'm not unhappy with that, I'm squishing it down, I'm not thrilled either. These cards just cause me no end of trouble. And here I'm taking them and I'm smooshing the next color, the light blue permanent, without letting the first one dry. I'm kind of liking the effect. I like how the script is coming out. There's many times during the making of these ICADs that I am happy, but then there's many times that I'm not. I really struggled with these, and which is why I'm speeding them up and doing a voiceover instead of my usual real time. There was just so much mistakes and hesitation and dead air. So I've got all 3 colors, and I'm thinking, that's a lot of color. Not sure I really am liking it, but I like parts of it. Like I said, indecision and was really part of what I was experiencing during these cards. And I just wanted to share that with you because I don't want anybody to get the idea that it always works perfectly for other people, and you're the only one that struggles with indecisiveness. So I grab another card, and I really liked how that script was coming through. So I thought, okay, I'm going to put the script on this one as well. And I used the cobalt blue instead of the black because I just thought the black would be a little too stark. I'm getting some of that paint. And I realized that the paint is there's too little of it, and it's not wet enough. Because when I mixed it, it was sitting there for a while. Now, when I start spreading it around the craft mat, do you see how it's kind of bubbling up? That gives a more interesting effect, and I really like the look of that. Now, the thing with smooshing is you kind of have to hand over control because you're not guaranteed that it's going to look exactly how you intended. And I guess if you practice, you would get better at it. So I'm liking the deep violet, and I'm just adding little bits here and there, and spreading it out on the craft mat seems to work. And I could have left it right there, and maybe I did. I can't remember. So then I take the Prussian blue, and I'm putting this on yet another card. Now, warning, even with as many ICADs and art journal pages that I've done, I find that when I'm trying to do more than one ICAD at a time, it just compounds the indecisiveness. Now, I just used this Prussian blue, and I'm really liking the smooshing with one color instead of mixing the colors. I like the texture pattern that it gives to the card. And so that's a bit of a breakthrough for me because always I think I've done smooshing with more than one color because typically that's what I've seen. So then I grabbed the first one and I decide I'm going to add some Prussian blue to that. And I really like the effect. So now I end up with 3 cards. And if you see on the craft mat, do you see how it's kind of beaded up a little bit? If you press really lightly, you'll get those dots onto your background. So I played with the circles off camera, and I painted those circles the Prussian blue color, and now I'm stamping with the lid in the Prussian blue on the deep violet. Okay, so we have the script that's the cobalt blue, the deep violet is smooshed, and now I'm putting Prussian blue on top. And I'm really liking where I keep the colors of the smoosh to one color. I tried a different lid and it just wasn't giving the marks that I wanted. And I've had circles dancing in my head for a while. Not sure what I'm going to do with them. Then I decide, you know what, I'm going to add some circles. I'm going to do stencil on circles. This is a Donna Downey stencil, and I'll put a link to it or another bubbles type stencil below. And I just thought, you know, I needed some solid to weigh down this card a little bit more. And I'm just kind of picking and choosing what part of the stencil I want. And if you're unsure, you want to mask off parts that you don't want, you can just use masking tape. So here, while I have the smooshed background, now I have stenciling. So I'm adding a technique on top of a technique. Other than choosing the technique of smooshing, I really had no idea where I was going with these ICADs. And maybe that led to my indecisiveness and, you know, actual frustration with these cards. Just edging it with the Prussian blue. Loving the deep violet with the Prussian blue. It's a really good color combination to try. So after looking through my stash and looking through sentiments, I finally decided I'm going to put a hummingbird on one of these ICADs. And I'm just using my mermaid markers to paint. This hummingbird was stamped out onto watercolor paper. So I'm just kind of using some teal, some green. I'm adding a little bit of brown. I was really unsure what color to put here. So here I am setting up the composition, and I have this die cut that I cut. It was like on my silhouette, and I really like how the white plays off against the blue background. So I'm just kind of layering that one. These ICADs end up with lots of layers. I just had little bits. I actually cut it out of my gel prints, but I find that that's too hard to match, so I end up using the white side and then either painting it a color I want or like here. So I stamped on this circle. When it was wet, I used the embroidery mesh and just pressed into it, and it got a little bit of pattern in it. And that's a really easy way. Take whatever mark making tool you have and press it into wet acrylic paint and then hit it with the heat tool, and you get that little bit of very subtle texture. So I edged it, I cut out these words, lift your spirit, that I printed out with my laser printer. And I'm just gluing it down with my gel medium. And I apologize, I kind of zoom out, but it's another reason I sped up the video. And I wanted the circle, again, because we had circles in the background. I just felt I needed some darker, something to weigh down this card. Then I decide to get my iridescent medium, my shimmery goodness from the Crafter's Workshop, and paint it. And it's not as translucent as I thought, and it kind of dulled down the lines. So I'm giving it a dry before I decide to do some edging here. And I want this circle to kind of stand out, so I grab my woodless charcoal pencil. I'm just going around it with black. And then because there's black in the script on the sentiment, I also want to go around the edge with it. If I had black paint out ready, I would have done that. I start to edge this with the woodless charcoal pencil, but it's not giving me what I like. So I reach for my big brush marker and I go around it a little bit, and maybe that footage is coming. I grab my pit pen and just outline it a little bit more around to bring back some of those dark lines that got lost. As I'm looking at this now, I'm somewhat happy. I don't know, I was almost tempted to leave the hummingbird white, just stamped white. I'm not really happy with my painting there. So on to this one, and again, looking in my stash, because part of my goal during ICAD 2018 is to use the materials in my stash. I'm just playing with these punched out die cuts. It was just painted papers that I've had, and we're trying to arrange it in a couple different ways, and the color looks really good. And I decide to do as my sentiment said and keep it simple. I just put 3 going up and down on this beautiful background, the dark color, and the sentiment that I've kind of semi-fussy cut it around. I was tempted to put the quote, sometimes you win, sometimes you learn, because that was definitely how I felt during this one. I don't know that I won with these ICADs, and that's not me trying to get everybody to give a comment, oh, I really like this. It's just sometimes even if something turns out okay in the end, we struggle. And I just want you guys to know that we all do that. No one's immune. So I decided to grab that last ICAD, which was really the first one that I did the smooshing on. And I grabbed this butterfly stencil, and then I go for the peacock one. I wasn't sure how the butterfly one was going to look like, and I thought, nope, I'm just going to get this done. So again, I grabbed the Prussian blue, and I'm just stenciling on my focal point here. And again, because the smooshing had so many colors, I wanted to add some weight, something that was a little more solid to it. So I'm just using the Prussian blue again. This is Grumbacher brand. It is my all-time favorite color. It works so good with pinks and aquas and blues. I really, really like it. Got a little too heavy-handed down on the side, pushing through and just continuing. And I had the quote, gratitude turns whatever we have into enough. So I'm just cutting these, trimming them, and placing them where I think they're going to look best. And I decide I'm not going to attempt to put them straight. That way it's one less thing that can go wrong. If anybody has a technique you would like me to use in the ICAD videos, or materials or a color medium that you would like me to use, please put it in the comment box below. I will try my best. If I have the medium, if I know enough about it. I know I don't have enough mixed media technique tag videos to do my full amount of ICADs, so I will be deviating from that at some point in time. And if at the same time I can make someone happy by giving them something that they want, I'm all game for that. So leave a comment or suggestion down below. Now, if you want to do 2 different backgrounds or 3 with the smooshing, you can. You could do just one if you want. Play it however you do it. I had these backgrounds done, so I ended up finishing all 3 of them. So I probably will end up doing probably 33 now, but I just figured, might as well finish them off, show a little bit of how to finish different ways you can use that smooshed background. All in all, I like the smooshed background. I like the color combos that I used here. I think the hummingbird is a little bit too dark, isn't showing up quite as much as I would like, but you know, I'm going to figure out a better way of doing that. I like the layering with the white of the die cut and the darker circle. Here I'm just using my fine liner bottle, just going around the ICAD. It just needed a little something. It just seemed like it was missing something. So, and then I'm going around the words as well, kind of in a sketchy kind of look. And of course, I end up touching the wet paint. In a perfect world, you would wait. There I go. I touched it and I smudged it. And I smudged it again by the time I'm done. If nothing else, these ICADs are a lesson in perseverance. You know, just keep pushing through, even though you're not sure, even though it may not be turning exactly what you have in your brain. Just keep going. As I'm looking this over now, you know, I am happy with these. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you didn't laugh too hard at me or with me. Thanks for watching. See you next ICAD.